All right, two quick things first. I did bring Rudy with me, so he's just going to hang out there. The larger Rudy may or may not be on a no-fly list. It's always a little bit up in the air, so we brought the legal version. The other thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a photo of you all. I took one internet design class in college. I got a C+ because my professor told me that content was not as important as style. So, Dr. Kleinschmidt, this is for you. Okay. So I'm Liz. I do all of the social and digital media for A&W Restaurants. How many people here are familiar with A&W? Oh, okay, great. I kill in the Midwest. I'm really big in Wisconsin, but I was a little bit nervous coming to New York. I was thinking that maybe nobody would know what I was talking about. So this is good. We're off to a great start. I came to A&W in December of 2011, right after the brand was sold by Yum Brands. I actually just got back from the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, where I got to meet with people from McDonald's and from Taco Bell. So picture those companies in your head, and now picture exactly the opposite. And that's basically where I'm at. I think that they do a really great job with their strategy and with their content. But it was like speaking a different language. I was like, so people just give you money? You just ask for money, and then people just give it to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. We've got to be a little bit more cost conscious. We are 100% franchisee owned, so I am not spending my money on these campaigns. I'm asking our operators to trust me. So that's me. If you didn't like this version, there's a different one. Also, my Twitter handle is up there, and my email. Reach out to me anytime. I love talking to people. Rudy, although he couldn't be here himself in the flesh, that is his headshot that he wanted to make sure that I got in here. And so I wanted to start off just giving a brief agenda. I'd like to frame a little bit of what I'm going to talk about just so it makes sense, because social media, digital media, mobile strategy in the restaurant world is a little bit different than retail. It's a little bit different than being in the tech world. And so we'll go over that a little bit. I'll talk to you about our digital and marketing strategies, and I'll use digital and mobile strategies almost interchangeably because, to be honest with you, I don't really have two different plans. Everything has sort of come into one. To me, you can't do digital, you can't do social without doing mobile. It's here, it's happened, and so that's just what we're doing going forward. And then I have a really exciting video that I want to get to at the very end. This is a world premiere video of a series of reality TV spots we shot starring Rudy. So nobody else has seen these before. I will be putting these on our YouTube page later and also tweeting them out. And so I would love it if everybody in here tell 50 people. I think it's really funny, and I hope that you'll enjoy. Okay, so an overview of A&W Restaurants. We are the oldest restaurant franchise chain in the world. We were founded in 1919 in Lodi, California. Currently, we've got over 1,200 restaurants, not only in the US, but also overseas. It is true that in 1963, we invented the bacon cheeseburger. So if anybody in here is a trivia buff, just store that one away, it's true. The only country that we're not associated with is Canada. A&W Canada is actually the second largest QSR in the country. They split off in about 1974, and we're just totally separate entities. Our marketing strategy is pretty simple. After the brand was sold in 2011, 2012 was sort of a year of restructuring from us. We inherited a really crappy website that hadn't been updated in like 3 years. Why would you invest any money into mobile or into a website if you knew you were selling a company? I understand what they did with that. We had 9 people working in our corporate office when I started. There's me, one other person on marketing, and then a handful of other people. We were working out of a temporary office space, very, very close quarters. But we had 9 people to run a multi-million-dollar company. I'm still not sure how we did it, but obviously we've muddled through. And our number one goal for 2012, and this came from our CEO, was to increase profitable same-store sales for our operators. So we could run all kinds of different ad campaigns, all kinds of different print campaigns, but if it didn't increase our operators' penny profit and their bottom dollar, that wasn't something that we were going to do. Where I come in is I really wanted to increase brand awareness. I've been around this brand for my entire life. My father has worked for A&W Restaurants since I was 4 months old. So this is just a part of who I am. I've known the bear for a really long time. We go way back. And so, to me, I'm a little bit biased. When I see the bear, I think of A&W, and when I think of A&W, I think of the mug and the drive-in and authentic Americana. Not a lot of people think that way. We sort of missed a generation, being my generation, sort of the elusive millennial generation, if you will. When I took this job, actually, I had a number of friends who commented on my Facebook post and said, "We saw that you're working at A&W. They went out of business." And I was like, well, I just quit my job, so I really hope not. And I really wanted to bring back the bear. Under previous ownership, Rudy was killed, which just hurt my heart. They claimed that he didn't elevate the brand. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. They didn't use him in any ad campaigns. They didn't use him in print. They didn't use him on really anything. And I thought that was a real waste of an asset. I think he's the best mascot in the business, arguably in the world. And so I really wanted to put emphasis on Rudy and tie all of that into our marketing strategy and then also our digital and mobile strategy. Okay, so how are we going to promote this brand? We have some limitations. We don't do national television. We don't do national radio. We have extremely regional markets. Like I said, we're huge in Green Bay, Detroit, very big. If you go down to South Carolina, North Carolina, they'll have no idea what you're talking about, even though we do have some restaurants in those states. Very low national brand awareness and budgetary constraints. I used to say it jokingly, but now I think it's actually true that we're a 94-year-old startup company, technically. So we've got to be very, very careful with every dollar that we spend. So when I came in and I sort of looked at all the pieces and I realized what we needed to do, how am I going to spend my money most effectively? It's going to be moving A&W online. So this is a picture of one of our initial stores. This is from Sacramento, California. I think this is 1921. So I want to maintain the brand's identity, and I want to be true to who we are, but I'm supposed to move this online. And I had no idea where to start. So what I did was I did some research, and I talked to some friends of mine who worked in the same industry. It basically came down to 6 questions that I think every digital strategy should answer. And you can even interchange digital and mobile on this slide as well. Who are we speaking to? Who is our audience? What do they want from us online so that we can produce meaningful content that they'll hopefully share, that will hopefully get butts and seats into our restaurants? What do I want them to do online? How can I align these actions? How will I know if it's working? And how will I keep the ball rolling? Because I really was hoping that once we got a strategy started and once we really launched this digital campaign, that it would only grow on itself, which is what's been happening, so that's great. Strategy for 2012 and 2013. Broke it down for myself into four main goals, basically. I wanted to increase brand awareness by creating online word-of-mouth activity in a very cost-effective way, potentially free. I wanted to drive traffic to our national website and also through our social channels. That's a big push that I've done, is encouraging our operators to get on Facebook, to get on Twitter, to Yelp themselves and see what people are talking about online. Once they hear that it's free, they're a lot more inclined to invest in that. I wanted to promote our national and local sales events online, since we don't do national TV or national radio. This was just a natural fit in my eyes. And then I also wanted to convey the authentic voice of the brand to consumers. We did a really deep dive last year into brand strategy and aligning where we were going to go once we developed a vehicle for growth to open more A&W restaurants. And what we heard over and over again from our consumers is that we'd forgotten who we are. There are baby boomers who used to remember going to drive-ins, and they had fond memories of going on a date and having a root beer float and having that frosty mug, and they remembered the bear. And they said, what happened over the last few years? Well, over the last 15 years, we had changed ownership 3 times. And there wasn't a lot of investment in this company. There's actually an article that came out in Forbes in 2010 that listed A&W as one of the top 10 companies that was no longer going to be around by 2012. So we're on borrowed time as far as I'm concerned, and we're doing awesome. So this is great news for us. But we just sort of had to think about, before I start putting my message online and into people's smartphones and into their pockets, what am I going to say and what point of view am I going to have? So who are we? Classic Americana. I mean, people have memories of A&W. We've got a history and nostalgia that really no other brand can touch. And so we definitely wanted to keep that in mind. But we don't want to be old-fashioned. We enlisted the help of a creative agency, Cornet. David is actually here today. So I've taken a lot of stuff from our talks with Cornet, because I think that they really hit the nail on the head as far as helping us redefine our brand and really get back to who we are. So I didn't want to get away from this image too much, but this image I really love, and especially if you're looking at getting the millennial consumer. We're old, but we're not old-fashioned. So what we came up with is the term hip nostalgia, is what defines A&W. So think James Dean and Steve McQueen, rather than like Cracker Barrel and Johnny Rockets. We didn't want to be kitschy, we didn't want to have a theme, but we really wanted to have an authentic brand voice. And I wrote down, I won't read the whole thing, but just a little bit of what hip nostalgia means to us. It's the intersection of culture and design from the past presented in a way that is new and contemporary. It captures the spirit and attitude of America at its greatest. It's simple and practical, but it's cool. It evokes a vague nostalgia, but remains timeless. It's bold, it's inspired by past innovations and techniques. It's honest, it says quality. It's not themed or vintage, it's A&W. So when I read those words, I get chills every time I read those words. I think that absolutely defines our brand and who we are. Of course, I wanted to bring the bear back. So this is an old shot of Rudy. I believe this is from 1976. Some of our operators actually do still have this particular costume in their store. We wanted to give Rudy a little bit of a makeover, a little bit of a facelift. Nobody has any idea how old he is, but he's been around for a while. And so this is sort of what I'm leaning towards. I don't know if you can read there. It says 100% kick-ass root bear. I can't believe I got away with that. But he's fun. I don't think that anybody can be offended by this bear or not have fun with it, because A&W is a fun brand, and that's something else that I wanted to interject into everything that we do. It's fun. If I'm not having fun, I'm not doing my job. Okay, so how was I going to implement this? First thing we needed to do was overhaul our website. I hated it. It was built in Flash. It was not mobile friendly. And when you pulled it up on your phone, it was basically a small, squished, weird version of what you would see on your desktop. Wanted to focus on social media. That is a territory that we can play in. We've got really great Facebook fans, really high engagement. And I wanted to engage and respond to consumers online. And of course, bring Rudy to life. So this isn't even the original website that we inherited. I won't show you that picture because it's offensive. But this is kind of, we did a quick reskin of our website when we first launched it in 2012. My main question was, why is that purple? Does anybody know? I didn't understand when they presented this to me. I was like, where did that color come from? So this was a slight improvement. It was still not quite mobile friendly. The layout of it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and so we knew that we needed to literally start from the bottom up. And so I won't spend a tremendous amount of time on this, but we launched our new website in it was January 28th of this year. And we wanted it to be a national site with a local feel. So how do you do that? Well, Cornet came up with the brilliant idea of being able to track people by their IP address. And so you can see that little butcher tag down there in the bottom left-hand corner. This never works at hotels, by the way, because hotels have firewalls that go all over the country. But if you were at your house and you logged in, it would recognize where you are and what the closest A&W was to you. This was also an exercise in providing a tool for our operators so that they didn't have to spend money making their own websites. Stop it with your GoDaddies and stop it with making your own websites. I'll do it for you. Provide me the information that you want me to put up there, and we'll make it happen for you. Oops, overclicked. Okay. So we're going to go into a little bit more about our social media here. Our website redesign was a great success. Our mobile traffic was up 44%. Overall traffic to the site was up 37%. And of course, no surprise, since we made the website mobile friendly, what are the two features that people are looking for if they want to look up a restaurant on their phone? Locations and menu. Very few people are looking for franchise information when they're looking us up on their phone. So we made that front and center. Social media, our Facebook page, we've had really good success with it. And I don't think that you can really separate social and mobile anymore. As an example of some of our local operators, the one in the top left in Ortonville, she's actually in a town of 1,800 people and she has over 4,000 likes. So I'm worried that she's gunning for my job a little bit because she's doing a really great job. But it's a great way for us to be able to connect with our consumers on a local level, talk about local sales events that are going on. They have cruise nights, they do share nights, they sponsor Little League teams. So it makes no sense for us to do national TV based on that. This is just a really natural avenue. We provide them with some promotional support for this. We have what we call our TV loop slide program. A lot of our operators have flat screen TVs that basically have slideshows on them, and so we'll customize artwork for them to help encourage driving traffic to those sites. This I just put on here because I think it's really funny. Rudy was freaking out on tax day. Okay, Twitter. Twitter is a totally different beast from Facebook. Our Twitter following is not exactly where I'd like it to be, so I'm hoping that by the time you leave here, everybody here will have signed up to follow at A&W Restaurants on Twitter. People go to Twitter for two things. They go to share photos of their food, and they go to yell at you. I've actually had two people who told me that they didn't specifically mention me, but they said whoever's taken over this Twitter account should kill themselves. So I didn't really want to deal with that anymore, and so I thought, what is going to be the best way for me to not hate Twitter? I put Rudy in charge. It's a lot harder to yell at a stuffed bear than it is to yell at me. So Rudy's goal is to respond to each one of our guests, no matter if it's a positive or a negative comment. He high-five paws a lot, even though he actually only has 4 fingers. And he interacts with other brands. We were actually just retweeted by Dollar Shave Club, which was huge. He talks to Long John Silver's. He talks to the Aflac Duck. It's just more of a fun medium, really, than Facebook is. Of course, every once in a while, you do have to deal with negative tweets. I don't take anything down unless it's my policies. I don't negotiate with terrorists. So if there's somebody who just says A&W sucks and they're putting up all of these terrible photos, I respond to them. Rudy responds to them, sends them offline to an email address, and they just don't want to play ball, I will take those comments down. But most of the time, when you will tweet back at somebody and say, hey, I'm sorry, that burger looks terrible, we agree, let us know how we can make it right, people really respond. And they're really surprised that a company will get back to them. Okay, so this is what I really wanted to talk about, A&W on Vine. Earlier this year, A&W launched our first new product in 4 years. It's a mini polar swirl, which is very similar to Dairy Queen's Blizzard. It's a smaller size. We were aiming at increasing the check amount and also targeting women as well, moms in our restaurants who maybe didn't want 16 ounces of ice cream, but who would like to have, just a couple of bites. This is totally in my wheelhouse. So we've got this great new product. We're not going to do national TV. We're not going to do national radio. How can we launch this? And so sitting around with Cornette and talking about what could be a really cool and fun way to promote this, launch this product on Vine. Be the first brand that's launched a new product on Vine. And we did beat Taco Bell to the punch. I had to check up on that. We beat them by like 2 weeks. Of course, everybody was talking about Taco Bell. And so we sent out this little invite. This went through all of our social media channels. We also sent them out to media contacts, just a little teaser. We didn't tell them what we were doing. Something is happening on Vine. And so the other part that makes this way cooler than if it was just a new product launch on Vine is that we figured out how to hack Vine. So normally when you're using it, you cannot edit videos. What you see is what you get. We figured out a way that we could pre-record videos, edit them, and then launch them onto Vine. So it made it look like Rudy was doing actual magic. And so if we'll start, actually, Rob, can we start with the Easter video? That's my favorite one. And this was a project that from conception to execution took 7 days. no bunnies were harmed in the making of this vine. And so we started off kind of slowly. We were releasing them 2 or 3 a day for a week. And you can see if we go back to the videos, when we started, we didn't really let people know what we were doing. They thought this was kind of weird. And as we launched the videos in succession, they got cooler, and it was clear that we were not using Vine the way that everybody else was using Vine. We had done something strange. So if we'll go to, let's see, let's do take 7 and 8. And all of these are available on our YouTube page as well. So Rudy isn't actually a wizard. So it became clear at this point that we were doing something weird. And I just thought that it was a really fun and clever way to market a new product. And people had no idea what was going on. We actually have a lot of followers on Vine now who are magicians who are asking me how we did that. And I don't want to burst their bubble. It wasn't actually a real thing. We've seen increase in our polar swirl category overall is up 400%. Now, we did do a national print drop, and we did have in-store materials, but I would like to think that at least some of that 400% came from the fact that people were talking about mini polar swirls. So those were a lot of fun. Okay. I didn't know how to work this in, but this is something that I think is amazing, that we've launched, gotten in on with Cornet. If you go to beardvertising.com, this is just another really fun, sort of whimsical, silly way to get people talking about A&W. We're putting tiny billboards in men who have facial hair for $5 a day. You too can rock one of these beard boards. So what does all of this mean? How am I going to stand in front of our board and show that I've made some sort of a difference? This is A&W in the media in 2013. I got into Forbes, which was amazing. I almost drove my car off the road. I was checking it while I was driving, and I thought it had to be a mistake. So if you Google A&W and Forbes, the first thing that comes up is this article, and the one right below it is the one where they said we would be out of business 2 years ago. So we've got people talking about A&W, and we've got people saying, you know, what the hell are they doing over there? Everybody thought we were out of business, and suddenly we're all over the internet. It's puzzling. It's confusing. The guy from McDonald's, when I was at the show in Chicago, was just like, who is thinking of this? What are you doing? And I'd like to keep that going. Now that we've built sort of an online platform that people have recognized, I'm hoping to be able to monetize that next year and to be able to ask for more money. So. I don't know if we have time. If we're running out of time, I had just one more video. Quickly? Okay. So this is the world premiere of Rudy's first episode of his reality TV style show. I think that you will recognize quickly what this was modeled after.
Rudy, he's a legend.
I totally remember wanting to be like the bear, wanting to be able to drink a root beer like the bear.
I believe in the bear.
You know, when they told me Rudy was coming out of hibernation, my very first thought was take him to a car wash and hose him down. Rudy had to go without cheese curds and root beer floats for many years, and so we give him a little leadway at first. But hibernation, it's changed Rudy.
I don't know what it's like to hibernate. I've never hibernated before, but all right. What have we got here? Oh no! Why don't you just go home and hibernate on it? Rudy can be kind of sensitive about it. Sometimes we just have to grin and bear it.
That's it. That was the world premiere, very first episode. which costs $0, which is my favorite amount. All right, so I don't know if we have time for questions.
I wanted to ask how some of the creativity that you're exercising on some of these emerging platforms, how are you now taking that and sort of having them reflect on some of your other media, so that it's sort of reverberating back, like the sort of associating the new product with Magic and Rudy in Vine. Are you now taking some aspects of that creative and sort of echoing it elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to be able to get this stuff in store. The thing I hear over and over and over again from operators when I go out in the field is, we need to be on TV, we need to be on TV, we need to be on TV. That's not going to happen. I think people confuse that with brand recognition. And so I want to create content that they can use locally, that they could use in their stores. We have a second new product launch that's coming out this summer that I am not at liberty to talk about yet. But there's a lot of changes going on. We're also launching a brand new restaurant concept this fall. So we are tentatively calling it A&W 2.0 because we don't have a name for it yet. But it's moving more into the fast casual space rather than the fast food space. So you think about Five Guys, Smash Burger, things like that. And so I'd like to use a lot of this buzz, and I'm hoping that with the announcement of this new restaurant concept, it just really blows the doors off of what people were expecting. But really taking everything and putting it in the digital world. I want people to know, to look online, look on our YouTube channel, go to our website. We created an app. I don't know if anybody in here has kids. If you search A&W Burp, we actually have a burping app with Rudy who burps the alphabet. It's just fun. It's fun, it's whimsical, and it gets A&W into your pocket and into your house.
Hey there, my name is Steve. I enjoyed your presentation.
Thanks,
I
Steve.
think you've got a lot of guts, some of the things that you're doing, original content, and you're taking some chances, especially with Vine. When Vine launched, there was a ton of adult content. And, there's risk and reward with everything, but can you talk through that decision process and how you kind of evaluated the environment and decided to go forward?
For sure. I think one thing I have going to my advantage is I've never worked in corporate America before. I was in politics before I did this. Enough said. And A&W did not have anybody who was focused on social or digital media before me. I invented my own job. So there's no standard that I have to sort of conform to. It is scary sometimes because online, if you fail in front of everybody. I haven't, knock on wood, had any really, really terrible missteps yet. Last summer, I did launch a video that was a little bit different from this one that I paid for, that I thought was going to be huge, and it went nowhere. So really, the worst thing is the silence. It's when I think something is going to catch on and go viral, and then it doesn't go anywhere. But the other thing about being online is unless you do something that's offensive or really rude or just mean-spirited, the internet doesn't remember a lot of stuff. So something that I think is a complete disaster for 24 hours, usually by the next day, somebody else has done something. I don't know if anybody remembers Chick-fil-A last year. That was not great. But I think it's a fun space to play in and that you can take chances, and especially since it's very affordable. If I were spending $30,000 and $40,000 on each of these campaigns, people would be expecting some pretty big results. But if I'm spending a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, grabbing my friends, and that was all people who work in our office, and just running around and following them with a camera, the risk reward I feel can be mitigated.
Liz Bazner, thank you very much.
Thank you.